Welcome back to True Soul Stories. Before we begin, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today, because this is not just a story of a man who built machines. It's the story of a soul who built faith out of failure, the story of a poor boy whose heart was stronger than any storm, the boy who created Honda. There once lived a little boy in a small, quiet village in Japan. His name was Soichiro Honda. He was not born rich, nor educated, nor privileged. His father was a blacksmith who fixed bicycles and tools for the villagers, and his mother spent her days weaving cloth and praying that her family would have enough food for the next morning. The world around him was made of dust, wind, and dreams that seemed too far away. But when little Soichiro looked up at the sky and saw the airplanes flying above, his eyes shone with wonder. He didn't want toys or sweets or gold. He wanted wings. He wanted to fly, to build, to create something that could touch the sky. He would spend hours in his father's small workshop, watching sparks fly as iron met fire. The sound of the hammer hitting steel became his music. He would touch the tools, smell the oil, and imagine the engines that would someday carry people across mountains and oceans. But dreams, as bright as they are, always attract the shadows of reality. Soichiro's family was poor. They could barely afford food, let alone education. He went to school only a few days before he was pulled out to help his father earn money. At night, he would sit under a dim lamp and draw pictures of strange machines that no one else could understand. The other kids would laugh. They'd say, "You'll never make anything. You're just a blacksmith's son." He smiled softly, wiped the grease from his hands, and whispered to himself, "Maybe not today, but someday." When he turned 15, Soichiro left his village with nothing but a torn bag and an unshaken dream. He walked miles to reach Tokyo, hoping to find work as a mechanic. At first, no one wanted to hire him. He was too young, too poor, too uneducated. People mocked him for his dirty clothes and country accent. But Soichiro never answered with anger. He only said, "I may be poor, but my dreams are not." Eventually, he found a small workshop willing to take him in. The pay was almost nothing, and he slept on the cold floor beside the tools. He worked harder than anyone else, fixing engines, cleaning parts, watching every detail with his sharp eyes. He wasn't just learning how to repair machines. He was learning how to build himself. Years passed. His hands became rough, his back strong, his spirit steady. He saved every coin he could, and after years of struggle, he opened a tiny workshop of his own. He had no grand equipment, no investors, no team, just faith and fire. He worked all night building engine parts, his eyes red from exhaustion, and when he finally made his first success, a new type of piston ring for cars, he was overjoyed. He presented it to a major company, Toyota, with all the pride of a father showing his firstborn, but they rejected it. They said it was useless, weak, badly designed. He was devastated. For months he lived in silence, questioning himself. He thought of quitting, but one night, while walking home, he saw an old man praying in front of a broken temple. Despite the cold, the man smiled and said, "When God delays, He is preparing you." Those words stayed with Soichiro forever. He went back to his workshop, redesigned the piston rings hundreds of times, failed again and again until one day, Toyota finally accepted his design. It was a small victory, but to Soichiro, it was proof that faith could turn rejection into revelation. But fate wasn't done testing him. Just as his factory began to grow, tragedy struck. A massive earthquake hit Japan. His factory collapsed. Everything he had built was destroyed. He rebuilt it with borrowed money, only for war to come. Bombs fell from the sky, turning his dreams to dust once more. The noise of explosions filled the air, and the smell of smoke replaced the scent of oil and metal. He watched his machines burn, his workers cry, and his future vanish in flames. He fell to his knees in the ashes of his life and whispered, "Why, God, why give me dreams only to take them away?" But in that silence his heart spoke back, because dreams that survive the fire are the ones that light the world. He stood up, wiped his tears, and walked away from the ruins. When the war ended, Japan was broken, people were starving, fuel was scarce. Soichiro saw women and men pushing bicycles to get to work. And then, like a spark in the darkness, an idea came to him. He took a small engine, one meant for a military radio, and attached it to a bicycle. It was loud, awkward, and strange, but it moved. People laughed at first, but then they asked, "Can you make one for me?" He began making more. Soon he couldn't keep up with the demand, and that's how Honda was born, not in wealth, not in comfort, but in faith and resilience. But what made Honda's story sacred wasn't just his success, it was his spirit. Even when he became a respected inventor and businessman, he never allowed pride to rule him. He often said, "Success can make a man blind, only humility keeps him human." He treated his workers like family. He laughed with them, shared meals, fixed machines with his own hands. He never wore expensive suits or lived like the rich. To him, wealth wasn't in money, it was in meaning. When reporters once asked him, "How did you find the strength to keep going after so many failures?" he smiled and said, "When I was poor, I asked God to remove my pain, but He gave me strength instead. When I failed, I asked for success, but He gave me wisdom. When I was lonely, I asked for help, but He gave me courage." So, I learned God never gives us what we want. He gives us what we need. That wisdom became the foundation of his life. He believed that every failure was a divine test, not to punish, but to prepare. He would say, "The road to heaven is paved with the stones of our mistakes." Whenever something broke, he would smile and say, "Good. Now we'll learn how to fix it." His journey was not just one of machines, but of the soul. He transformed pain into purpose, loss into learning, and work into worship. He taught others that the true power of man is not in his hands, but in his heart. As his company grew, so did his gratitude. He built not just cars and motorcycles, but bridges between people, between nations, between dreams and reality. He often visited schools and spoke to children, telling them, "Never be ashamed of your struggles. They are your greatest teachers." He reminded everyone that no dream is too small if it's fueled by honesty, hard work, and faith. One day, an old friend from his village came to see him. The man was astonished to see how far Soichiro had come. He said, "You've changed the world." But Honda simply laughed and replied, "No, my friend, the world changed me. I just listened." As the years passed, his hair turned white, and his hands trembled from age. But his eyes, they still held that same fire, that same boyish light that once looked up at airplanes in the sky. He would sit in his garden in the evenings, listening to the sound of engines in distance. Sometimes he would close his eyes and whisper, "Thank you, God, for my failures. They made me who I am." He knew his time on earth was nearing its end, but he was not afraid. He believed that death was not the end, but another beginning, a journey toward eternal peace. He left behind a message for the youth, written in his soft handwriting. Dreams are sacred. Never trade them for comfort. Do not let failure steal your faith. Every fall is a step closer to your truth. When you rise again, remember it was never your strength, it was God's grace. When he passed away, the world remembered him as a genius inventor. But those who knew his story remembered something deeper. They remembered a poor boy who refused to let despair destroy his spirit. They remembered the child who looked at the sky and said, "Someday." And someday came not as fame, not as fortune, but as freedom of the soul. Today, millions of cars and motorcycles bear the name Honda, but behind that name lies something much greater than steel or speed. It's a symbol of human endurance, divine faith, and the quiet power of never giving up. So whenever you feel that life has taken everything from you, remember this story. Remember the poor boy who lost his factory, his savings, his hope, and still found his way back. When your heart whispers that it's over, let faith answer, "Not yet." When your path is covered in shadows, remember even fire cannot burn a soul that believes. Life will always test you. It will break your plans, shatter your pride, and make you question your purpose. But beneath every trial is a sacred truth: you are being shaped for something greater. Just as Soichiro Honda was shaped in the fires of failure, so too are you being molded in the hands of destiny. Every prayer you whisper in pain, every tear you shed in silence, every small step you take despite fear, they are not unnoticed. They are seeds growing in the unseen soil of faith, and one day they will bloom. The story of Soichiro Honda is more than a tale of invention. It is a mirror showing us that greatness does not come from privilege, but from persistence. That true success is not measured by what we build, but by what we become. You may be poor, you may be broken, but as long as your spirit remains unshaken, you already possess everything you need, because faith is not about believing in miracles. Faith is becoming one. So tonight, as this story ends, take a deep breath. Look around at your life, your struggles, your scars, your small victories. They are all pieces of something divine, and maybe, just maybe, you too are building something that will change the world. Thank you for watching True Soul Stories. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it, because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear that their pain still has a purpose. And remember this: you are never too poor to dream, and never too broken to rise again. Soft piano music fades out, the sound of wind returns, and a gentle whisper closes the video. Dreams that survive the fire will light the world.